Well, hello and welcome. Today we're at Virginia State University's Randolph Farm. We're in a greenhouse and it's a little loud, but I'm going to try to talk a little loud so you'll be able to hear me. We've got this DIY hydroponic system that we built several months ago. About 6 weeks ago we put small plants in this channel right here, and you can see they're almost ready to harvest right now. And every week we plant a different tray with lettuce in here. But you know, if you look at this, these heads that are getting ready to harvest are really doing well, and this DIY system is doing just as well in terms of production as this more professional system that we have behind me here. The lettuce looks just as good. So this is going to be something great for you to grow in. But before we plant into this channel, I want to show you exactly how we seed that down and what we use to seed it down into before we plant it. So for this hydroponic system that we're growing in today, we have to plant in those small plant spaces, and we really can't make a large container or a small plant that's really large like this tomato plant. So we have to use something very small. We use products like this right here, and it comes in little cubes. This one's called rock wool. And you can see you just break these little cubes apart, and they have a small place that you actually put a seed into. And this wicks up water very well, and this allows for good germination of the plant. So we end up with nice germinated plants, in this case a lettuce seedling. And the roots grow through this. This media doesn't really provide any nutrition to the plant, but just as a substrate for the roots to grow through. But what we have here is a nice small plant that's ready to go in this hydroponic system. And so that is one of the ways we do it. We also have some little discs like this and compressed material here. And this one, you soak it in water, it will get much larger. It'll look a little bit like this. And you can put a seed in here and it germinates, and then the roots can just go right through here. We can also use something like this in our hydroponic system. As you can see here, here's some other seedlings. You can see the roots are growing through. So what I want to do now, I'm going to take a couple of these and we'll go back there and we'll plant and get that done. So this channel is ready to be planted. We've got our irrigation input, so nutrient solution is flowing through it. And so now we're going to use some of these small transplants and go in here. This is that expanded peat pellet that we talked about earlier. We got a nice seedling here. The roots are starting to grow through. It is a little short to put in this, but what we're going to do is kind of push it together a little bit and kind of lengthen this, and then it's going to fit kind of nicely right into this channel. Perfect place, and then that is going to serve well for that transplant to grow. The other option, like I mentioned before, was this rock wool cube. And if you notice, this cube is kind of short. It's almost a little bit too short to go into this 2-inch pipe without kind of being swallowed up or falling in there. So one of the things we do as a little bit of a hack here, we will make a taller rock wool cube. We'll take one of these cubes, cut it in half that's not being used, and then put it on the bottom of an existing one that has a plant in it. We'll push a little toothpick through there, and you can see the roots just grow right through it. And when we do that, it's the perfect height. As we put it in there, you'll see it sits up perfectly, doesn't fall through. And we've got some more, and it's just as simple as placing them in this plant space and letting them sit down there. Now those roots that you see here are just going to be bathed in nutrients, and they're going to take up what they need. And speaking of nutrients, this tank right here has all the fertilizer and nutrients that the plant needs. So let's talk a little bit about how we manage that, because we really want these to grow and they need fertilizer. This reservoir holds all the fertilizer, all the nutrients that the plants need to grow, and they are growing very well. So we have about a 20-gallon tote right here. We're using about 15 gallons of water, and we add fertilizer to it. And we have some powdered water-soluble fertilizer that we use. It's really a professional type brand. But you also can find different fertilizers that will go in here very well and work very well for the plants at your local garden center. Sometimes you can also find just liquid fertilizers that you'd mix in water that are concentrated. One of the things that you want to do is monitor the pH and the amount of fertilizer that's in this solution probably 2 to 3 times a week. There are various types of meters you can buy to monitor this, and they can be very expensive for some of the more commercial models. But something like these right here, a pH pen and an electric conductivity pen, are less expensive, and you just simply use these by putting them in the water, and you get a reading off of here. And this one, the electric conductivity pen, kind of gives you an idea of how much fertilizer is in the water. And it helps you, after you've mixed this up and have it right, it lets you know if the plants are taking up enough nutrients or too much. Also, the pH pen you can put in here, and it'll give you a level of your pH level. And that lets you know where you're at, maybe where you should be, and where you can make adjustments. Now this is crucial to really make the fertilizer right to begin with, and you can find fertilizer recipes online, but you can also talk to your local county extension office and they can help you figure out how to mix this up. Okay, so we've turned it back on. It's running pretty nicely now. We've got our last planting in here for the time being right now. You know, as I go across here, it's almost been 6 weeks, and these aren't quite big enough as this variety tends to get, but I think it's about time to harvest it. It looks pretty good. So the way that you harvest this is you just kind of reach down here towards the bottom, and you kind of give it a yank and a tear, and it comes right up. You see those roots are there, and you've got a beautiful head of lettuce here, ready to go on a hamburger or a sandwich or make a salad out of. Really nice product coming out of your DIY system here. It's something you can do. Contact your local county extension office and talk to a master gardener. From the Ground Up, I'm Chris Mullins. We'll see you next time.
From the Ground Up is presented with the generous advice and assistance of Virginia Cooperative Extension. Visit their website at ext.vt.edu.